Okay, in today's quick tip, I'm going to show how I build a flexible drill bit. There are certain times that I need to drill or pre-drill a hole to place a screw, and you just can't get a regular drill motor and drill bit, or even a 90. I use this a lot of times, this cordless 90, to get in places and drill when it gets tight, because you can see this. The distance from the chuck to the back of this is a lot shorter than this, but there's sometimes even when this won't work, and I'm going to show you how I build a flexible drill bit for that. I built one a few years ago, actually out of rubber tube. I'll show you this type of tube here, but I couldn't find it. So I was messing around today and I built another one, but this time I used cable. So what you'll need to build this is a drill bit, some tension pins. This is 1/8 inch cable, and then like a plastic tube. So I'll put it together and show you how it works, and then I'll explain how I built it. You still need a drill motor to run it. So for instance, if I was in a tight area and I needed to drill a hole up through, in this piece of wood here, you just start it. So that's how it works, and in a little bit I'm going to take you under the deck of this 22-foot boat. That's and I'm going to use it under there, and I'm sinking some number 10 by 1 inch screws underneath the shear shelf of that boat, and I can't get any drill in there to pre-drill for the screws. It's a real tight area, so I made this up, and I'm going to take you under there and pre-drill the holes and sink these screws. But I'll just talk for a minute about how I made this. First, you have to determine what screws you're going to use, and then you determine what drill bit is you're going to use to pre-drill that. Now, and I always just line it up there, and roughly the diameter of the drill bit is going to be the same diameter is the shank of the screw, and that varies depending on what kind of wood, whether it's soft or like a harder wood like oak. So I picked my drill bit out. It's close to a 9/64. I used a 9/64, but it was a little bit too big for the tension pin, so I actually ended up getting, this is a number 29 drill. And I just took it over to the vise and I clamped it in here, and I took a cutoff wheel, this wheel right here, and cut it to length. Sometimes I'll put them in the vise and just break them, but sometimes they don't break where you want them to. So I cut that off, and then I took a tension pin, and I didn't want to use the full length of it, so I cut the tension pin in half, and I sunk this drill bit in there. Now that's just a pressure fit. What I did was I took it on my vise here, I open this up and I put the piece of wood here, and first of all you want to start with a sharp drill bit. If it's not sharp, you might want to sharpen it on your, if you have a drill doctor. This one happened to be sharp. So I put it in here, and I open this up, and I put the wood in here for the, you can see the points that, or the indentations it made. Put it in there, and then I just drove that in there. And I drove it in about 3/16 of an inch. So that's not going to go anywhere. And then I put the 1/8 inch cable in there, and it was a pretty tight fit, but I wanted a little extra force on this, so I ended up putting this in here and kind of crimped it. I crimped it in the vise like this. So I think it's pretty solid. It seems solid. So, and then all you need is a piece of plastic tube here, and that's just for your hands. So when you put it in the drill, you're not holding this spinning cable here. So I'll stop the camera and I'll start it back up when I'm under the boat, and I'll show you the 4 holes that I have to drill for these number 12. These are number 12 by 1 inch stainless screws. All right. One thing I forgot to mention before I go into the boat there, and that's sometimes I'll put grease or oil on this just to make it run a little bit smoother in that plastic tube. So I have a little lightweight oil there, and put a little in there, and it'll help it run a little bit smoother. So I'll stop the camera and I'll start it back up when I'm under the boat. All right. Okay, I'm under the forward deck of the 22-foot Continental. This is the port side. And this is the original shear shelf, and here's an old repair. Here's another repair here. And this, the forward deck has spread out a little bit, so I'm going to try to pull it back into shape because some of the deck seams are wide. So what I'm going to do is, underneath this, the repair here, there's 4 holes. I'm going to screw a steel plate under there on both sides and pull this boat back together. So there's 4 holes that are just started, and I just used a pick just to kind of make an indentation, and then I'm going to use my rig here, the flexible drill bit, and I'll try to get a shot from the side. If you could see, why there was no way I could get a regular drill or even that 90-degree cordless drill in here. There's only about, I don't know, maybe 1 inch to 2 inches from the bottom of this repair to the inside edge of that plank. So I'm going to set the camera up and show you that rig, the flexible drill bit drilling in there, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna put these screws in. The screws right that's a 1-inch screw there. So I'll stop the camera and start it back up when I'm ready to drill, okay? Okay, I've got the camera set up, and I'm gonna drill the 4 holes there. I'm gonna end up burying this drill bit, which is about 1 inch. And even if I go on a little bit of an angle, that'll be fine. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to get totally 90 to it, but it'll be a lot better than any other, than trying to use a regular drill bit or 90. And actually, once you get it started, then you can kind of, you can steer it so it's more of a 90 degrees to the surface. So I'll start it up, and I'll just go, you know, I'll be patient with it and let it do the work. I can feel that it went through here. Now this one's even further back, so I'll start it on a little bit of an angle, and once it gets going up in there, then I'll try to straighten it out a little bit. There it goes. I already had those started a little bit. Now these ones here are going to be the full depth. And I can kind of steer it with my fingers. So that's it, that wasn't bad. And you can see how that's the full length of that drill bit, which is about 1 inch. So those are pre-drilled, and I'm just going to show you real quick how I screw these in sometimes when I'm limited, when I've limited space. I use this a lot. It's just a 1/4 inch drive, a ratchet with a 1/4 inch socket in it, and that 1/4 inch socket, it fits a lot of these little driver bits that you could use. So actually this one, I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to stop the camera and go get another rig that I use, because you can see you won't even be able to get that in there. So I'm going to stop the camera and I'll go get this other wrench that I use, okay? Okay, I went and grabbed that wrench, and what it is, it's an old Craftsman. What's it called? It's kind of it's kind of the old gear wrenches before they started making gear wrenches. It's reversible, and it works nice because if you use the 1/4 inch, these little hex driver bits fit in there. So that only takes up not even 1 inch of space. So it takes a little bit of time, but the cool thing is it works. And that's the only thing I've found that works on really tight spots. So you've got to try to keep your finger under it. And I'll get this started. Let's see if I can get it started first. Oh, I've got it on the wrong way. You just flip it over. So I'll just drive this one screw and show how it works. Now, like I said, it's tedious, but in spots like this where there's no other choice, at least you can get it done, you know. And it's a good fix. So that screw it looks like it's going pretty much 90 up into that wood. Hands in the way. So what I'm going to do, there's 3 others. I'm going to screw that steel plate, and then I'm going to run like a turnbuckle off of that and pull this boat back together, and then maybe shore it up with some glue blocks and stuff like that. So I thought I'd make this little video just showing how to make that flexible drill bit to be able to countersink. I suppose you could try to drive this screw up without even, you know, drilling it, but it's a lot easier to countersink it. And once you have that rig, you have it, and you can build different sizes for different screws if you wanted to. So that'll do it. That'll do it on the quick tip for how to build. I'll show it here. This flexible drill bit right here.